Today's gospel tells a story that we are all familiar with, the story of Mary being visited by the angel Gabriel and her hearing the news that not only was she going to have a baby, despite the fact that she's a virgin, but also that her baby will be called the Son of God. From Mary's perspective, that's a lot to process. I thought about what this must have been like from Mary's point of view. First of all, Mary, from what we know, was probably not much older than me. Second, she was from Nazareth. Today, when someone talks about Nazareth, you think of a historical site or a pilgrimage destination for those who are the most devout. And most obviously, you think of it as a holy site, the town where Jesus grew up, hence Jesus of Nazareth. But in reality, in Mary's time and for a long time thereafter, Nazareth was a very small town and Mary was a very young woman, most likely poor, inexperienced in the ways of the world, and engaged to Joseph, but still living with her family. So when Gabriel appears to her, I admire how Mary reacts. Not only does she keep it together, but she then proceeds to make a series of logical statements to this apparition who just appears to her, and starts to tell her all of these things. When Gabriel starts with, "Greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you," the reading reveals that she is perplexed, and rightfully so. Why isn't an angel appearing and telling her, Mary, a poor young woman from Nazareth, who still lives with her parents, that she is so very special? It's her initial and continuing expressions of respectful doubt that I admire here. When Gabriel tells her that she's going to conceive a child, she wastes no time speaking up and applying logic, replying, "How can this be? Because I am a virgin." For those who don't know me well, I consider myself an extremely logical person. Facts and figures and the proof of something in front of me guide my daily life. And so I feel a kinship with Mary that she too uses a combination of that logic, then later hope and faith on her journey to accept that she will be the mother of the Son of God. She is, however, is much braver and more full of grace than I. Here's the story. When I was in pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, everyone in my grade took Spanish from an enthusiastic young teacher named Senora Robiano. Senora Robiano used magic jelly beans, and when she ate them, she could only speak Spanish. And she would pop one into her mouth, and sure enough, the Spanish words began to flow. As a kid with science knowledge slightly beyond a baking soda volcano, I thought that this was absolutely ridiculous, and I knew that it couldn't be true. I began to call her a liar, loudly and rightfully so. I ended up in the principal's office, however, where I believe that everyone was exasperated with me for daring to use logic. I was using logic and facts, but I was told that I was to just believe to get along and let Senor Robiano continue without interruption. I begrudgingly complied with this for 2 years before we started being taught Spanish without magic beans. This is what I mean when I say I have none of Mary's grace, when faced with something so extraordinary that in order to believe, you have to have faith. This is a lesson that I continue to have to learn and think about in my confirmation journey. How do you reconcile your logic for something greater? I also think that's probably how someone described faith. Sometimes you just have to believe what that angel is telling you, or maybe even that magic jelly bean. So let's get back to Mary and Gabriel. Gabriel, sensing that Mary still isn't fully accepting, gives her more evidence. He tells her about her cousin Elizabeth, a woman too old to conceive, who is now also going to have a child, thanks to the Holy Spirit. Elizabeth, in her 60s, would end up giving birth to John the Baptist. Now it appears that Mary has enough information. She is ready to accept this role and give everything up to faith, saying, "Here am I, the servant of the Lord, let it be with me according to your word." She does a brave thing here. She lets go and she says yes to God. It is very hard to let go and just believe, especially during the year that we've had. We've had a year filled with fear and uncertainty and so much sickness. It's only natural to, rather than believe, to cling only to what we know, who we know, and what we can prove. But what if we, like Mary, chose to set those things aside and let go of the things we cannot control? And take a moment to believe that next year we will all be together for this service without a mask in sight. What if we took a moment to believe that next year we will have a full choir and a Christmas pageant to celebrate our youngest members? What if we took a moment simply to believe that fewer people will die once the coronavirus vaccine becomes widely accessible? What if we took a moment to believe that our government will spend less time fighting next year and do more to help our country and our people as a whole? What if we decided to spend less time jumping to conclusions and more time believing that others have the best intentions at heart? What if we decided to see the best in each other rather than the worst? What if we chose to believe that yes, the Son of God, Jesus of Nazareth, is about to be born, that we need to be ready for him? What if we choose to prepare for his birth by being there, at least in spirit, for one another in our St. Albans community? Not because this church is the closest to our house or the one with the best snacks, the most talented choir, the most personable rector, but because we are bound by faith in this little boy who hasn't even been born yet. It's not an easy thing to do in 2020. But what if we, like Mary, let go a little and say yes to God? What sort of world could we create? I don't know, and I'm nervous, but also excited to find out. Greetings, favored ones. The Lord is with us.